The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
This story was written by Rabbi Tillis from Tzfas. I just spoke to him about it a couple days ago. I heard this story. It's unbelievable. There was a family in Yerushalayim. They had 7 children. And every year, this family, let's say, I'm going to make up the names, we'll call them the Wagners, and they lived in Har Nof. Now, they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a car, but every year they rented a minivan, and they would take their children on a vacation. But what they did was that they called all the children together before the trip, and they say, look, we're going to this place and this place and this place, and you can spend a certain amount of money in each place, but we're going to bring our own food. The car will be packed with food and snacks, so everybody has a certain allowance. But we're not going to go to any extra places. We're going to go to Tveria. We'll go jeeping in one of the mountain areas. We'll go on a boat in Kinneret. And they mapped out a whole beautiful itinerary for the kids. But they knew they're only going to those places that they spoke about, and everybody can spend only a certain amount of money. The first day they're traveling north, and they stop in Netanya. Netanya is gorgeous, right? And it's near the Mediterranean Sea, and they take out the lunch and the snacks, and the kids are eating, and the parents are eating by the water. It's beautiful. When they finish, one of the little boys, the 8-year-old boy, says, Daddy, or Abba, I have to use the facilities. I have to go to the lavatory. Where are they going to get a bathroom, over there? So all the kids went back into the car, and he started walking with his son, and they saw a kosher restaurant. So he felt bad because, no restaurant wants you to come in to use the facilities if you're not buying anything. But listen, the kid has to use this facilities. What are you going to do? So he goes inside and he sees a waitress by the door, and he says, please, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, but I know we're not buying anything, but my little boy has to use the facilities. Would it be okay if he could just go in for a moment? She looks around and she says, yeah, it's okay. And the little boy goes, and then the father starts walking out, with the little boy. And as they're coming towards the door to leave the restaurant, the head waiter sees them, and he goes crazy. And he says, what are you guys doing here? Did you have permission to come in here? Who gave you permission to come in here? What do you think, there's a public lavatory? What's with you religious people? You know you can't use something if it's not yours. Who gave you permission to come here? And this man, Mr. Wagner, is standing there, and he sees that the waitress is watching him. She's terrified because this obvious waiter is out of his mind. And he's screaming, and everybody stopped eating and watching him. And this man, who we call Rabbi Hillel, he realizes that if he says that she was the one who gave permission, she'll be in trouble. And she did him a favor, right? So he waits until this guy finishes yelling, and he says to him, sir, you got it all wrong. We're planning to eat here. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, you didn't give me a chance to finish. I just came in here with my little boy, but we got the whole family in the car. We're all coming in to eat. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you, but, a lot of religious people come in here and they use the facilities without permission. How many people you got? He said, well, it's altogether 9. 9 people? Yeah. Just tell us where to sit. And he tells his little boy, go out and bring everybody in. Now the kids can't believe it in the car, and the wife. They never ate in the restaurant before. And they all come in, and they're putting the tables all together, and they all sit down. And it's unbelievable. The kids never saw a menu in a restaurant, and they never saw their parents in a restaurant. The truth is, when I first read the story, I grew up, I never saw my parents in a restaurant, in a fancy restaurant. Never. Who could afford it? And now they're wondering, oh my gosh, look at these prices. And the father and mother told every kid you could take 1 drink and 1 meal. And that's what they did. Now near the end of the meal, they all noticed that by the kitchen, there's a lot of activity. And all of a sudden they see out of the kitchen 7 waiters come out with the head waiter. Everybody's holding ice cream and cake with sparklers on the cake. And everybody in the restaurant is looking, who's getting all this? And they come to this guy's table, and like as if it's rehearsed, every waiter puts down a dessert in front of every child, ice cream, cake, and sparklers. And Mr. Wagner says to the head waiter or to the restaurant manager, I think there's a mistake. We didn't order dessert here. He said, let me sit down. I want to tell you something. He said, after all of you sat down, the waitress came into the kitchen and she was crying. And one of the other waiters asked her, why are you crying? She said, I just saw something that I never saw in my life. No one ever did this to me before. They said, what happened? She said, I saw what that man did. He was coming in here. He had no intention of buying anything. But then when he saw that I could get in trouble, he changed everything. And he had all his kids come in. 9 people are eating a meal only so that I shouldn't get in trouble. I was so terrified the way this waiter was yelling and screaming. I thought for sure I was going to lose my job. I was already thinking, where else can I get another job? So the restaurant manager says, we brought you the dessert because we wanted to do something special for special people. The kids finished the dessert, and the father asked the waiter for a bill. So in the bill, it says, from now on, anytime you come to this restaurant, it's 50% off. Now listen to this. He calls over the restaurant manager. He says, thank you very much for the future. But what about now? What does it cost for this meal? So the restaurant manager tells him, we have a policy in this restaurant. We only charge people. We don't charge malachim. We don't charge angels. That's who we can become. We can all be angels. Why did he do this and spend that fortune? For the chesed, so that that lady wouldn't get in trouble. There are great people in Klal Yisrael, and we could all become great.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org